Hello, thanks for being part of this. Who are you and what do you do?
My name's Carmen, and I'm a lawyer. I'm actually a director of legal services currently. I work at a nonprofit, a law office called the LA Center for Law and Justice.
You're a lawyer, um, and you're working for a nonprofit. I think that people might have a sense of what a nonprofit is, but can you just tell us quickly what is a nonprofit and how is it different than a quote unquote like a normal business?
That's a great question. And so a business um, generally reports to people, shareholders, or folks that have a business or money interest in the company, where our office, we don't work based on the money we make, but we work based on the services we offer. And so we actually offer free legal services to folks in the community who need lawyers.
Can you tell us about what you do in the capacity as a lawyer?
My office works with survivors of domestic violence, sexual assault, and human trafficking. And so I might help someone get an order from the court telling another person to not hurt them or come near them. I also help people get immigration papers, so maybe a work permit to be able to work in this country or a green card to be able to stay in this country.
So, what kind of law do you do to be able to help all those people who need that kind of help you were describing?
The way most people think about lawyers is what you see on TV, where you defend someone who's in court with a criminal case, and that's the criminal justice system. There's actually also a civil justice system. But then for immigration, I'm petitioning to the government to give me something, a benefit. I would help someone ask the government for permission to stay in this country or to work in this country. That's called administrative law. So there's different types of legal systems in our country, and lawyers play parts in different systems.
So the system that you generally are working in is administrative law and civil law?
That's right.
Can you tell us a little more about what your current kind of day-to-day job is?
My title went from attorney to director of legal services. So I essentially supervise all of the functions that make our office run. And so I'm more of the manager. So I make sure that we're doing our timesheets properly, because that's how we're reimbursed by the government to do our job. I make sure that we're targeting the right communities that we say we're going to our funders. I make sure that the types of cases we're doing are things that we have the expertise to handle. And I also work with pro bono attorneys. And so I work with getting big law firms to come in and help support our work, because we don't have the capacity to help all the people that actually really need this type of help.
Let's just define one term for people who are listening here, because I think it's an important term that you just mentioned, pro bono. So what does pro bono mean?
Pro bono is a Latin term that just means free. So it's attorneys who give free legal services to clients.
Let's talk about what was the thing that inspired you to become a lawyer. What was the sort of driving force or critical event in your life that made you want to become a lawyer in order to help people who need help and can't afford a for-profit law firm?
So my parents are immigrants from Cuba, and they fled for political reasons. They didn't have a right to vote, a right to freedom of speech, a right to almost anything. And my entire life was messaged to me that in the United States, we have these critical rights that are really important. The day I turned 18, I registered to vote. And when I went to college, I became very active politically, and I was helping folks register to vote, and I became a political science major. And I also started campaigning for Bill Clinton, who I found out is a lawyer. We know Hillary Clinton, his wife, lawyer. And so as I was deciding what I was going to become and sort of wed my political passion and my understanding of how important rights are, I started to see that law school was a path for me.
That is wonderful. So you've been really aware of how the legal profession impacts our daily lives since you were a young person. That's really amazing. I think a lot of high school students are probably going to identify with what you just said. So at a certain point in your life, you decided, I'm going to be a lawyer. What were the practical steps you took to become a lawyer? And what was that like? Was it hard?
Oh, it was the worst. It's so hard. The desire is strong. The work to get there was tough. So the first thing you have to do is take the LSAT, um, the equivalent of, like taking your SATs for college. And I remember then buy a bunch of books and start studying and taking this test that would give you a score. And that score would determine which tier of law school you could apply for. And if this doesn't make sense to you, it didn't make sense to me either. And so I had to take a test and then I had to apply. But I got support in helping me fill out these applications that were really complicated, just like what you guys are working on for college, hopefully.
In order to become a lawyer, you had to go to law school.
First, you have to go to a college and have your bachelor's degree, which is usually what you get after 4 years of school. When you're about your junior year of college, like your third year in, then you start taking the LSAT and applying to law schools. And so I started doing that process while I was still in college. Some people take a gap year. You don't have to go straight through. I really was motivated to be done with school. And once you're in law school, one thing that's really cool is it's 3 years. And what you get after it is called a JD, which is a Juris Doctor. So I tell people, like, I'm a doctor of law. And so if you're going to become any other kind of doctor, you're going to be in school for far longer. So law school really is 4 years of college and 3 years of law school. So in 7 years, if you go straight through, you're only like 25. You're a lawyer.
There's one more test before you're officially a lawyer. What is that test?
Yeah. So while you'll have your doctorate, to actually practice law, which means to actually be able to take a client and represent them, you have to take the bar exam. But you have to take the bar in the state you want to practice. So if you live in California but want to move to Arizona, you take the Arizona bar. And that is a test that takes 3 days full time. I think there's like 6 essay questions and 200 multiple choice questions. And you spend about 2 months of your life preparing for that test.
Wow. You've achieved your dream, which is helping people. Like, what got you through all that?
I loved college and the experience of moving away. I came from a very conservative household where roles were really imparted on me. And I was the oldest female. So it was a lot about staying close to family and working at home and helping the home. So when I went away, it was freeing, and I joined all these clubs and just learned about the world. And then law school is the total opposite. They're trying to like put you through a meat grinder to think a certain way, and you just read cases and you have to churn them out. And it was pretty terrible. But I had the eye on the prize. I mean, I knew I wanted something like this. Like you said, I'm living my dream. I'm very lucky every day that I am helping people and making an impact on their lives. And somehow as a young person, I just knew that I needed to get through that. I think I was really independent. I really wanted to see the world and move away and do something different. I think some of it is the immigrant experience where your parents are always telling you how things were somewhere else. And then I was a young kid in America saying like, no, I have all these opportunities. And I just pushed myself. And it wasn't easy. I had horrible grades my first year of law school. I didn't pass the bar right away. I will just tell you, though, it's worth it. It is worth it if you have this dream to get the support, and I had a lot of wonderful supporting people that were on my side. And, now I don't dream anymore about failing the bar, but I did for many, many, many years. It's traumatizing. Yeah.
If you had a chance to talk to a high school student right now who says to you, I'm thinking of becoming a lawyer because I want to help people, what would you tell them?
Study, read a lot, practice your writing, get experience, volunteer somewhere, learn some office skills, get some internships. Now I'm in a position where I hire people and I look for experience. Speak Spanish, hablan español. In LA, if you want to work, I look for Spanish speakers. So I tell folks, travel, learn another language, study abroad, right? And pick up those skills. And get mentorship, ask people. You have this great program and opportunity to get help and talk to folks that are doing it to give you tips.
Carmen, thank you so much for being part of this. I think you're really going to help somebody.